At 70 years old, Bruce Willis is no longer the man people remember running barefoot through broken glass in Die Hard. The loud sets, the cameras, the long shooting days, those are behind him now. These days, his world is much smaller. He spends most of his time at home, surrounded by family. The same man who once carried billion-dollar films on his shoulders now moves slower, speaks less, and relies on the people closest to him more than ever before. When news first came out about his condition, aphasia, and later frontotemporal dementia, it hit hard. Fans saw the headlines, but they didn't see the quiet reality behind them. The small daily struggles. The moments of confusion. The way life changes when your mind doesn't work the way it used to. And then came something no one expected. A statement. Quiet but strong. At 70, Bruce Willis made it clear there are people he does not want at his funeral. It wasn't loud, but it carried weight. Because it didn't come from anger, it came from a lifetime of experience. A lifetime of fame. A lifetime of people coming and going. Some who stayed. Many who didn't. To understand why he would say something like that, you have to go back to the beginning. Before the fame. Before Hollywood. Before anyone even knew his name. Bruce Willis wasn't born into fame. He was born in West Germany, on a military base. His father was an American soldier. His mother was German. Not long after, the family moved to New Jersey, where he grew up in a regular working-class neighborhood. There was nothing about his early life that hinted at Hollywood. No connections. No spotlight. No clear path. As a kid, Bruce had a stutter. It made simple things, like speaking in class, feel uncomfortable. Sometimes embarrassing. Words wouldn't come out the way he wanted them to. Other kids noticed. But something strange happened when he got on stage. When he acted, the stutter disappeared. It was one of the first times in his life where he felt in control. Like he could finally express himself without being held back. Still, acting didn't seem like a real future. Not at first. After high school, he didn't jump into movies or auditions. He worked regular jobs. He tried to figure things out like anyone else. At one point, he worked as a security guard. Later, he became a bartender. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't part of some big plan. It was just life. Paying bills, getting by, trying to understand what came next. But even behind the bar, something stood out. People noticed his personality. He had a way of talking, a presence that made people pay attention. He wasn't polished, but he was real. Funny without trying too hard. Confident, even when he probably didn't feel it. That same energy would later define his entire career. Eventually, he made a decision that changed everything. He moved to New York. Not because he had a guaranteed opportunity. Not because someone invited him. He just went. New York wasn't easy. There was no safety net waiting for him. No steady income. No clear direction. Just auditions, rejection, and long days trying to survive. He continued working as a bartender while chasing acting roles on the side. Small roles. Background parts. Theater performances that barely paid anything. Most of the time, nothing happened. Audition after audition ended the same way. Someone else got the part. That kind of rejection wears on you. Slowly. It makes you question everything. There were moments when quitting would have made sense. When staying in a steady job and giving up on acting would have been the smarter move. But he didn't quit. He kept showing up. Kept auditioning. Kept getting turned down. And somewhere in that process he got better. Not overnight. Not in a dramatic way. Just little by little. He learned how to read a room. How to deliver lines more naturally. How to stand out without forcing it. His background in bartending actually helped. He had spent years watching people. How they talked, how they reacted, how they behaved when they thought no one was paying attention. That turned into something valuable. Realness. By the early 1980s, he started getting small breaks. Nothing huge, but enough to keep him going. A role here. A short appearance there. He wasn't famous. He wasn't even close. But he was inside the system now. And then came the audition that would change everything. A TV show called Moonlighting. At the time, it didn't look like something that would launch a global superstar. It was just another opportunity. Another chance. But this time, something clicked. The chemistry, the timing, the personality he had built over years of struggle. It all came together in that one moment. And for the first time in his life, everything started to move forward instead of standing still. When Bruce Willis walked into the audition room for Moonlighting, he wasn't the obvious choice. At that time, he wasn't a big name. He didn't have the polished image Hollywood usually looked for. There were other actors with stronger resumes, better connections, and more experience on paper. But Bruce had something else. He felt real. The producers noticed it almost immediately. There was a natural rhythm in the way he spoke. A kind of confidence that didn't look forced. It didn't feel like he was acting. It felt like he was just being himself. Then came his pairing with Sybil Shepherd. Their chemistry wasn't something you could fake. It had tension, humor, unpredictability. Sometimes playful, sometimes sharp. It made people want to keep watching. When Moonlighting aired in 1985, it didn't take long for audiences to notice. Bruce Willis, the guy who had spent years getting rejected, suddenly became a household name. Almost overnight, people were drawn to his style. He wasn't the typical leading man. He joked, he smirked, he didn't try to look perfect. That made him different, and different worked. But fame came fast, and it came heavy. With success came pressure. Long shooting schedules, media attention, expectations to keep delivering the same energy that made him popular in the first place. Behind the scenes, things weren't always smooth. There were reports of tension on set, creative disagreements, long hours turning into longer days. Still, none of that slowed things down. Because while Moonlighting made him famous, something much bigger was about to happen. When Bruce Willis was cast in Die Hard, a lot of people didn't understand the decision. At the time, action heroes looked a certain way. Big, muscular, serious. Names like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone dominated the genre. Bruce didn't fit that mold. He was known for comedy, for charm, for talking fast and joking around. Many thought he was miscast. But that's exactly what made it work. In Die Hard, Bruce played John McClane, not a superhero, not an unstoppable machine, but a regular guy. He got tired. He got hurt. He made mistakes. He looked scared sometimes. And people connected with that. The film's success changed everything. It wasn't just a hit. It redefined what an action star could be. Suddenly, you didn't have to be perfect. You just had to feel human. Bruce Willis became one of the biggest stars in the world. With that came money, recognition, and more opportunities than he had ever imagined. Sequels followed. Bigger roles. Bigger paychecks. But fame at that level doesn't stay simple. The higher you go, the more complicated things get. As Bruce Willis's career grew, so did his personal life in the public eye. His relationship with Demi Moore became one of Hollywood's most talked about marriages. They were both stars, both successful, both constantly surrounded by attention. From the outside, it looked like everything was working. But inside, things were more complicated. Fame brings pressure into every part of life. Long filming schedules kept them apart. Media attention never stopped. Every move, every decision, every argument had the potential to become public. At the same time, Bruce's reputation in Hollywood started to shift. There were stories about his attitude on set. Reports of him being difficult, hard to work with. Some said the fame had changed him. Others said it was the pressure. Maybe it was both. The industry that once welcomed him started to look at him differently. Relationships became strained. Some collaborations didn't go smoothly. And then, his marriage to Demi Moore came to an end. The divorce was highly publicized. Another private moment turned into public discussion. But through all of it, there was one part of his life that stayed grounded: his role as a father. No matter what was happening in his career or personal life, his connection to his children remained strong. Still, professionally, things were about to shift again. Because in Hollywood, success doesn't last forever. Not without change. After the massive success of Die Hard and its sequels, expectations for Bruce Willis were high. Every new film had something to prove. Some worked. Others didn't. There were periods where his movies underperformed. Critics were harsher. Audiences were less impressed. The industry started to move on to newer faces. That's how Hollywood works. One moment you're at the top. The next, you're trying to stay relevant. But Bruce didn't disappear. He adjusted. One of the biggest turning points came with The Sixth Sense. In that film, he played a much quieter role. Less action, more emotion. It showed a different side of him. Controlled, subtle, restrained. The movie became a massive success. It reminded people that he wasn't just an action star. He could do more. And for a while that shift worked. But as the years went on, things changed again. He began appearing in smaller films. Some went straight to video. The quality varied. Critics noticed. Fans noticed. People started asking what had happened. From the outside, it looked like a decline. But behind the scenes, there were reasons that weren't fully understood at the time. His pace didn't slow down, but something else did. Something more personal. Something that would only become clear years later, when the world finally learned about his condition. And by then, everything about his career and his life would start to make sense in a completely different way. For most of his life, Bruce Willis was known as the guy who could carry a movie on his shoulders. Loud, confident, sharp with his timing. The kind of presence that filled a screen without trying too hard. But that version of him wasn't the full picture. Off camera, his life was built around something much quieter. His family. With Demi Moore, he raised 3 daughters, Rumor Willis, Scout Willis, and Tallulah Willis. They didn't grow up in a normal environment. Their parents were constantly in the spotlight. Cameras followed them. Headlines wrote their story before they even had the chance to live it. But inside the house, things were different. Bruce wasn't the movie star there. He was just their dad. He joked around. He kept things simple. He didn't try to act like a Hollywood figure at home. That separation mattered to him. Work stayed outside as much as possible. Even after his divorce from Demi Moore, that effort didn't stop. A lot of people expected things to fall apart after they split. That's usually how it goes. Distance grows. Communication fades. New lives take over. But that didn't happen here. Instead, something unusual took shape. They stayed connected. Not in a perfect, scripted way, but in a real, ongoing effort to keep their family intact. Holidays were still shared. Important moments were still experienced together. Over time, that relationship turned into something steady. Not romantic. Not forced. Just respectful and present. That kind of connection doesn't come easy, especially in a world where ego often gets in the way. But both of them made it work because their focus stayed on their daughters. Years later, when Bruce married Emma Hemming Willis, his life expanded again. With Emma, he had 2 more daughters. A second phase of fatherhood began, this time with more experience, more patience, and a different mindset. By then, he had already lived through the chaos of fame. He knew what it could do. He had seen how fast things could change. That awareness shaped how he approached his family the second time around. He slowed down. Not all at once, but gradually. Less interest in the spotlight. Less need to prove anything. The urgency that once drove his career started to fade. At home, he became more present. More routine-focused. More aware of the small moments that don't make headlines but end up meaning the most. Over time, his circle got smaller. Not because he pushed people away for no reason, but because life naturally filtered things out. Some friendships didn't last. Some connections faded when work slowed down. Others stayed, quietly, without needing attention. That's something fame teaches you in a hard way. Not everyone around you is really there for you. And Bruce saw that clearly as the years went on. By the time he reached his late 60s, his world looked very different from the outside image people still had of him. There were no big parties. No constant industry presence. Just family, routine, and a smaller, tighter group of people who actually knew him. And then, slowly, something began to change. At first, it didn't look serious. But it was. The first signs weren't dramatic. There was no single moment where everything stopped. Instead, it came in small, quiet ways. Bruce Willis began having trouble with things that used to come naturally. Remembering lines on set became harder. Conversations didn't flow the same way. There were pauses where there didn't used to be any. At first, people around him tried to work through it. Film productions adjusted. Scripts were simplified. Scenes were rewritten to reduce dialogue. Directors and crew members adapted quietly, doing what they could to keep things moving. From the outside, most people had no idea. They just saw him continuing to act, appearing in films, still working. But behind the scenes, it was getting harder. Not in a way that could be fixed with rest or practice. Something deeper was changing. For a long time, it stayed private. His family handled it quietly. They stayed close. They supported him without making it public. Then came the announcement. He had been diagnosed with aphasia, a condition that affects a person's ability to communicate, speaking, understanding, reading, writing. For an actor, someone whose entire career depends on communication, it was a serious blow. Not long after, the diagnosis became clearer. Frontotemporal dementia. A progressive condition. One that doesn't just stay the same. It moves forward, slowly changing how a person thinks, speaks, and interacts with the world. When the news became public, everything shifted. His career stopped almost immediately. There was no farewell film. No final performance designed to close things out. Just an end. Quiet and sudden. His family stepped forward as one. Emma Willis, Demi Moore, and his daughters all stood together, sharing updates, asking for understanding, and making it clear that their focus was now on him. Not the public image, not the career, just the person. From that point on, daily life became something very different. Communication wasn't the same. Some days were easier than others. Simple conversations could take more effort. Familiar routines became important because they provided structure. The outside world, once easy to navigate, became more distant. For Bruce, the man who had spent decades in control of every scene, every line, every moment, that shift was real. And for his family, it meant stepping into roles that required patience, consistency, and constant presence. They stayed close, not just physically but emotionally. Photos shared online showed small moments, walking together, sitting together, being present in ways that didn't need explanation. There was no attempt to hide reality, but also no attempt to turn it into something dramatic. Just honesty. As time moved forward, one thing became more and more clear. The people who were still there were the ones who mattered. The ones who showed up consistently. The ones who didn't need attention to stay. And in that quieter, more limited world, those differences stood out more than ever before. By the time Bruce Willis reached 70, his world had already changed in ways most people never fully saw. The spotlight was gone. The constant movement, the pressure, the noise of Hollywood, it had all faded into the background. What was left was a much clearer picture of life. Simpler, but also more honest. And it was in that place that something very direct came out. A statement about his funeral. Not written for headlines. Not delivered on a stage. Just something he made known through the people closest to him. He did not want certain people there. It wasn't dramatic. There was no list released. No public call-out of names. But the meaning was clear. He didn't want people showing up just because of who he used to be. He didn't want industry faces appearing out of obligation. No actors he hadn't spoken to in years. No executives who only called when there was a deal on the table. No distant connections trying to be part of a moment that had nothing to do with them. Because he had already lived that life. He had seen how it worked. When he was at the top, the phone didn't stop ringing. Invitations came in constantly. People wanted to be around him, to work with him, to be seen next to him. But as things slowed down, first his career, then his health, something else happened. Silence. Not from everyone, but from many. People who once felt close were suddenly gone. Not in an obvious way. They just stopped calling. Stopped checking in. Stopped being present. That's something a lot of people experience in life. But in Hollywood, it happens on a bigger scale. And Bruce noticed. Over time, those patterns became clear. Who stayed? Who faded? Who only showed up when there was something to gain? So when he spoke about his funeral, it wasn't coming from a place of anger. It was more like a decision. A boundary. He wanted that moment, his final moment, to be real. Not a performance. Not a gathering filled with people trying to be seen or remembered as part of his life. Just the ones who actually were. The ones who had been there when things got quiet. The ones who didn't need cameras or attention to stay close. For some people, that idea felt uncomfortable, because it removes the usual expectations. It forces a different kind of honesty. It raises a simple question. If everything stopped today, who would still be there? And more importantly, who wouldn't? At this point in his life, Bruce Willis isn't defined by his career anymore. Not in the way people might think. The movies are still there. The legacy is still there. People still go back and watch Die Hard, still talk about his performances, still remember the roles that made him who he is in the public eye. But that's not what his daily life looks like now. There are no scripts, no shooting schedules, no interviews or press tours. His world has narrowed, but in that space it has also become more focused, more personal. Most days are built around routine, being at home, spending time with Emma Hemming Willis and his children. Moments that don't need to be explained or shared. Moments that don't have to mean anything to anyone outside that circle. Just being there. The pace is slower now. Conversations are different. Some things that used to be easy take more time, more patience. But the people around him understand that. They adjust. They stay. And that's what matters. The industry that once shaped his life isn't part of this phase anymore. The opinions, the expectations, the constant movement, it's all distant now. What's left is something much simpler. People. Presence. Time. For someone who spent decades surrounded by noise, that kind of quiet changes how you see everything. It strips things down. Makes certain truths impossible to ignore. Like who actually stayed close when there was nothing to gain. Like which relationships were real and which ones were built on circumstance. Like what really holds value when everything else is gone. For Bruce Willis, those answers are no longer complicated. They're right in front of him. In the people who sit with him. In the family that continues to show up every day. In the small, ordinary moments that don't look important, but are. And in the end, that's the life he's living now. Not the one people remember. The one that's real.